you guys like originally cast? Like, how did you particularly and Chloe get involved with the show?
Okay, so there was a casting director from LA. He originally, the way the show was supposed to be set up was it was supposed to be more like the structure of Toddlers and Tiaras, where each week they featured a different mom-daughter combination. And then the finale was going to be like the 6 people you met throughout the season come back and compete at the end. But then they were realizing as they were taking casting tapes, and everybody from the studio, of course, once you heard one person was sending in a casting tape, everyone's like, well, what are you doing? I'm going to send mine in, you know? So we were all sending tapes in. And then they started realizing that like the person I was talking about who was giving me crap at the studio was the same person talking crap on me. And then I had this like great fun friend who always wanted to go out and have a drink. And she was like, you know, so it all just kind of fell in place. And I just went back not too long ago and I found some original emails, and it's really hysterical who they were like very interested in from the beginning, because that's not the story the cast tells. But I'm like, oh, they like this dynamic. And that's where they really pivoted from. So for me, they called me. I was in Marshall's. I was shopping, and the casting director called and he's like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about, you know, this application or whatever you sent in. I don't even remember. And I was like, hey, I'm kind of busy. Can you call me later? I had no, like, I wasn't like, oh my God, it's LA. I was like, hey, call me back. I'm shopping.
That's so funny. Did you think like you were going to get it? Like, could you tell like through the, because you know, sometimes it's
Yes.
a long process.
It is a long process, but yeah, you know what? You know how people say sometimes you just know in life?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew from the first moment that we talked to them, and just because the producer always came back to me and asked me questions about a lot of stuff. And I just was like, I kind of just knew. I'm very dramatic. I'm very whatever, you know, I'll say whatever you're thinking. I was just like, oh, this is kind of what I was made for. So it wasn't even, I knew the whole show was going to happen. And I don't know how I knew, but I just knew.
Did Chloe want to do the show, or was she just more like not even aware? She did.
No, the kids were all like, this is cool. There's cameras. But they were at the same studio that they had grown up with, their same friends. So nothing was different for them. They were just like, wow, that's kind of fun. You know, and it was a big adjustment period at the beginning because we were going from just being in regular dance classes to shooting a show. So there was a lot of logistics and like figuring out schedules and who was where. And I mean, it was very much a growing process. And I mean, those kids worked tirelessly and they were exhausted on days because they weren't used to dancing like that and learning new routines and performing, you know, every single weekend. That just wasn't how it really was. And so I think back and I'm like, those kids were incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I was exhausted and all I did was sit and drink.